0, 1, 2, 3. Let's get started.
You look like your proportions are perfect when you lean back.
Looks like I'm really important.
Yeah, we always have very clear starts. It always makes it very clear.
Well, I watched a professional podcast the other day, and they had all sorts of technology issues. It was in and out, and
Yes, they did.
so it's not just us. It's not just the little people.
So we are here with Jeremy, as always, myself, Jonathan, and we invited Jeff to join us today. Jeff works for Pleasant Valley Homes down in Hershey, PA. All they do is eat chocolate all day long. And actually, just like we oftentimes are talking about building homes with toothpicks and popsicle sticks, down in Hershey, they actually build them out of chocolate bars. That's right, Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, with the almonds in them for rigidity, right?
No, the almonds
that's
are for our
correct.
value.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So Jeff, if you would just tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the industry of modular home building, and how did you get started in it in the first place?
Well, 35 years. Actually, last month would be 35 years in the industry. And
So that makes you
how I got started.
42,
Well,
right?
I wasn't there. Yeah, exactly.
It was an internship
But when I
program.
say I was someplace at 35 years, I'm really thinking hard,
Like I tell my son, if you like Legos, modular building is in your future.
That's that's right.
Yeah, it's in my blood. My father, my grandfather, my uncles, my brother, everybody was in the industry forever and a day. And when I graduated high school, I was heading off to go to college. I was going to take a break before I went. I heard my brother went to work for a modular factory, and I said, "Well, what can you possibly make there?" I was actually building cabinets at a cabinet shop after I graduated high school, and he had told me what he's making, and my eyes got like this big. It's a huge industry, and for all the homes that I put out in 35 years, I've learned a ton from my father, my grandfather. I went over to that factory and started working as well, and I was in cabinets, so I went in and I started building all the cabinets for all the homes, and I was doing well. My dad, my grandfathers, and uncles were all in sales, so I wanted to try sales out. My first territory, they did hire me to do that from inside the plant, and
So where was this? What was the territory at the time?
excuse me.
Well, what was the
territory at the time?
plant you were first at?
Territory.
Jeff?
It was
And
a
they
Fleetwood
got
Homes
bought
plant.
out over the years, right?
They did modular and manufactured. Yeah, they're not
Okay.
around
Where
anymore.
were they out of in PA? Were they Scranton? Elizabethtown, okay.
Elizabethtown,
Okay.
which is near Hershey as well. Yeah, but that's how I got my foot in the door and working inside the plant. I was in there 2.5 years working, in the cabinet shop, became an assistant foreman, and it kind of wasn't enough for me. I wanted, more of a career job where I made a big difference in affordable housing for people, because I brought all that knowledge on how they're built from my grandfather's relatives. It's helped me a lot in the sales end of the world, which my very first territory I got was Buffalo, New York, as a matter of fact.
Right.
True story.
So you went from
True
cabinetry
story.
maker to you were weren't you voted into the Modular Housing Institute as on the board of directors this past year, weren't you, Jeff?
I was on the board of directors in the state of Maine, and currently for the state of New York, they're looking for new members. I haven't gotten back the results of that yet, but I think I can definitely be beneficial to the board, housing association board of directors.
I know
If it
John's
happens
got
to
some
be.
questions, but one that just popped into my mind was that we get a lot is what any idea why there has been such a development in Pennsylvania for modular factories in particular. Pennsylvania seems to be a hub for numerous modular factories, big factories. Over the years, there's been a lot there. I mean, there's some other states as well, but particularly Pennsylvania. What's the reason for that? Any idea?
From what my history tells me and what I've learned from a lot of people, Pennsylvania was chosen as a perfect location to serve the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic states and the Northeast and some Southern states. It's just like everyone thought Pennsylvania was the primary place to be, because everybody pays for transportation. And if everybody is on the same playing field, shipping from Pennsylvania to Maine to New York or New Jersey or wherever it has to be, it was a good centralized location for it to work. And one person builds a factory and others saw success, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden it's just
And
grown
I suppose there's a
tremendously.
fairly solid labor force there. I guess labor has been impacted nationwide, but over the years, it's been a pretty stable labor force there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Labor force we have is pretty steady. You're always going to have some turnover for whatever reason. And it seems like people are coming in here every day. My office actually sits right out for the lobby, people coming in to apply for jobs. And we're always hiring. And the people, well, one of the reasons why I came here is because it's a family-owned business for 42 years. And talking to the people that worked here, they've got employees here that have been here 40 years, 30 years, 20 and 25 years. That's pretty telling. But you got to pay them. You got to pay them. You got to treat them right. We are on the upside of cost for modular builders, but there's a lot of reasons to go into that. We got to pay for good employees. We got to pay to put a good product out. We're a family-owned business, and we don't have any corporate backing or anything like that. So we have to do it right. We can't afford to build inferior products out of this plant, and our reputation is just that. People, even our competitors and some of my friends in the industry, they know it.
Well,
And
that leads into my first main question, actually, Jeff. You worked with several different factories, and you mentioned Fleetwood, and obviously Pleasant Valley, of course, and that you mentioned PBS before as being a factory that you've been connected with, and that.
I was connected with them. I didn't actually work for them, but I was Manorwood, which was lost in a flood.
Yep.
That was lost in a flood, and Fleetwood went out of business. But I just, I stay in the industry because I love it. It's a very satisfying job to see people start out with a piece of paper, drawing a house, and end up moving into it with their family, and it's a great thing to watch.
Well, so what have you seen? Without throwing anybody under the bus or naming names or anything like that. What do you see in terms of the differences, pros and cons from one factory to another one? And you've been in the industry for a while, and Jeremy, I'd be interested in your thoughts on this as well. What do you see in terms of why one factory might be a better fit for somebody than another factory?
Mm-hmm. Well, for us, customization is a real big one. And a lot of the manufacturers have backed off of doing a lot of customization. Basically, you draw something that can be a modular, we'll build it. And a lot of them aren't wanting to do that anymore. They want to be more efficient with what they're building so they can make more profit. So they're being, not all of them. Some of them are being real picky on what they do want to build for today's consumers. As far as some of the other modular builders, there's a difference between, family owned like we are, and then some of them are owned by the conglomerates and the Cavco companies and stuff like that,
Sure.
and your Claytons, people, the big corporations that have the corporate offices where everybody gets their decision making from. And what I love about Pleasant Valley is we make the decisions right here on the spot with thought, put behind everything that we look at. But we don't have any of that stuff, and it makes us pretty much run the way that we see fit to serve the market, especially in the higher end and more customization. And we'll do chalets, 2 stories, townhouses, ranch style, and any of those can be
That's one of
customized.
the so we work with a few different factories, as you know, and we don't we don't are with the understanding that each factory has a different niche. And it's important to have a factory that is a production-based factory that does not want to do a lot of changes and has a library of books that can be priced aggressively. That's a great and important part of the market. But an ever increasing part of the market from our perspective, and this is kind of where I think we've fit in historically, is a lot of our customers are customers who are looking to build a house, and they're looking at stick built options. And then in that process, maybe through the pricing process primarily, but in that process, then they get keyed into the idea of modular. But they're not going, a lot of our customers aren't going in to build a house as a, modular home. They're not going to build a new modular home. They're looking to build a new custom home for themselves and their family. And then at some point along that journey, that exploration journey of building a new home, which can take the idea of building a home, and the planning can sometimes take in the several years idea, when you're acquiring land or vacation land or family land or something like that, that can take some time. And during that time, then a lot of times people fall into or come across the idea of modular, and are blown away with what you can do through a modular home, and come to us specifically for that idea of, I want a custom home. I want a really nice custom home. And if it can be modular and it can be a great home and save me some money, and as we would say, in many cases, the quality exceed a site built home, then they're all in. And that's kind of I think a growing segment of the market. I think certainly the understanding of what modular is and what it can look like architecturally, that has changed so much over the years. And we try to influence that with not only doing creative model homes and creative projects, but based on our experience in through that design process that we take with the customer, what we say to the customers, we want to try to catch your vision and add value to your vision. And that's what we try to do with our experience. We'll try to come up with some to ensure that they not only achieve their design goals, architectural goals, but surpass them. And some of the things that we suggest in our design meetings and our architectural review meetings with our team and the customer on these customer planning calls, we can come up with ideas and make suggestions for things that people haven't even thought about as being a possibility with modular. But like you say, not all factories are set up that way, and that's great. There's area of the market to be shared in different ways. And so for within our staple of factories that we use, factory suppliers, Pleasant Valley, of course, is taking up a segment for us that is able and willing to look at unique floor plans and designs, and how you can do as much as possible off-site, which is always the goal, because that in the end saves the customer money, and achieve those not only the architectural values and points, but the cost effectiveness and sort of the budgeting goals for the project as well. Maybe you can talk. I don't know what you've got next on the agenda, John, but a little bit. I think would be worthwhile just to hear the radius that Pleasant Valley feels that it can best impact. Maybe I mean, you could probably ship to
Yeah.
Alaska. But we get inquiries from Africa and from South America and California, and it's funny when we get some people. Hey, can you ship me a house to California? Well, we don't cover California quite yet, but. And some people get quite annoyed. What are you talking about? I want a house. Send me a house. How'd it go? And
Oh yeah.
now, of course, they're without a lot of houses with the fires. But hopefully, hopefully that gets sorted out soon. But in terms of your impactfulness in your footprint, what's your typical geographic location for coverage?
All of the New England states, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, and it's about as far south as Maryland and Delaware. That's about as far south as we
Have you
go.
shipped into Michigan or Ohio at all?
I haven't. Doesn't mean we
There's
cannot.
typically a lot of factories for whatever reason don't want to go into Michigan and Ohio for it seems like the approval process or maybe the permitting process for transportation is problematic or challenging. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, most of the manufacturers that are in Pennsylvania, and there's one in New York, a couple in New York too, but the finding drivers that can go out that far is very few and far between from here, because once they get out there, then they're deadheading back. It's not as appealing, and plus for the consumers, standpoint, they're paying a lot more freight from our factory, and if they want to pay that, that's fine. But then you got to be if something happens or we need to repair something or go look at something. Michigan's not
Is
right
that
down the
better
road.
served? Is that better served from like?
Right.
So is
Is
that
that
fair to
better
the
served
consumer?
from
But
some of the plant clusters in Illinois or Indiana? I guess
yeah,
Indiana has more than Illinois, right? But
both.
that would probably be
Yeah.
closer, would it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But we also have to get licenses to sell in every state, and if we had a state quite out quite that far, we might build one a year, two a year, maybe, and then you have to keep renewing your license to do
Fair
that.
enough.
Right.
But yeah, we primarily just the Northeast and some of the southern states that border us is primarily where we go.
Well, so that brings up an interesting point, Jeff. I was thinking about how we really got connected in the first place, and it was maybe you could share the story here. It was really through some social media stuff and that, and you had reached out to us. Why don't you share the story of how we kind of initially got in contact with each other?
Well, when I first started here, I was given a task, and a task was to add more builders to our portfolio that are good, reputable, and can take care of the end result with customers and thereafter. And I started looking at all the areas we had in the types of homes that we built. We get a ton of chalet requests.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a lot of builders that really want to do them. They're a little harder to set, a little harder to finish on the inside in a vaulted area of a chalet. And I just started looking around through every resource you get, Google, directories, associations, people, and I'm saying, I went on your website, your Facebooks. I'm like, this looks like somebody I want to try. So I called you one day and just asked you if we could be an option for you.
Yeah.
And I think I've probably done 50, 60 quotes already with you, and some of them are still working. Not all of them will happen. We all know that, but
The way it goes. It's the way it goes, right?
We do get a
that's the
lot
way it
of
goes.
But
But
yeah,
what's really
chalet
cool,
requests as well, and I think that who knows, but I mean maybe it's an ebb and flow of the interest and style, but I think I can offer a suggestion because we seem to there just seems to be like the modular really earns its keep well out in the middle of nowhere. When you're talking about building a house on Lake George or in the Adirondacks or on one of the Finger Lakes, there are not a lot of site builders in these areas. And if there are, a few,
Mhm.
they're typically booked out several years. And I know when we did a project
Right.
on Lake George last year, um, the owner did mention that, said, hey, we looked at the local, one of the local site built options, and he was booked out 3 years, and he was almost double your price. And so and then so in those areas, chalets seem to just fit
Mhm.
well in those scenes, and nestled in the woods, overlooking a lake, vaulted ceiling, big windows, loft space, walkout basement. I mean, it's just the
Right.
quintessential, vacation home. And the designs have really gone
Right.
along a long way. I mean, there's obviously the traditional A-frame, but we're developing designs. One called the sloped house, and which is more of a unique spin on the chalet. We've got the city version, which is a little more modern, but can be done also more rustically. And then even the traditional A-frame, um, you can develop it with side wings. The one that we did down there in Franklinville, John. I mean that had six. That was six boxes. Two in the
Oh yeah,
middle, and then two on either
6.
side, with a big vaulted space in the middle and a loft space. And I mean that just you see the house on paper was not that large from a square footage standpoint, but you walk around the house and seem to be walking around quite a while to get from one end to the other. And so there's a lot of different
Hmm.
variations of that chalet idea, but I think people, certainly from a vacation standpoint, second home standpoint, I mean it just looks great in the woods, on the water, these kinds of things. Is that, I mean that's where people are typically built, that's where you're shipping them to as well, right? These vacation destinations, Adirondacks, these places, Hudson Valley.
Yeah, I get a lot of them from over in that area, and just I looked at your projects, and I'm like, I get these customer leads direct, looking for a builder to work with. And I learned real quick in my first month or two, I'm like, people don't want to do these over there. I'm like, they're missing out. I got to find somebody that's
Right.
reputable and can do them, and we'll go that far. You guys will go anywhere in the state, which is great because there's certain builders that are equipped to do chalets, and some are not, and some it's just personal
It's
preference. They'd rather
definitely, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's
not.
Well,
definitely more
But
work,
yeah,
and you have to scope the project out accordingly. And if you don't, and everyone's not taken care of, then it's no fun. And so you have to make sure everyone's taken care of and everyone understands, has a clear job scope. They know what they're getting into. They know the scope of work. The house is priced accordingly, and when that's done and it all comes together, I think everyone's happy. I think it's people get a bad taste in the mouth, whether it's a contractor or a customer or what have you, if the job isn't scoped out properly for a lack of understanding of what site work is required within that roof line. Because depending on the chalet, you can do a two-box chalet with a flip roof that comes up, and that vaulted area and the attic area is all typically unfinished. But you could alternatively do a four-box
Mhm.
chalet, which, those two boxes on the second floor, it's essentially built as a two-story. And the upstairs, that's much more finished. And, that's a different set process. It's a different finish process. But I think it starts with a clear understanding of what is it exactly that we're ordering, how is it going to appear when we get it to the site and the foundation, and then what's the scope of work thereafter to finish the home. So that's, I think, important, and we know the there's a variety of different types of trusses that you can use in that vaulted space, each of which has a different cost implication and a different finishing requirement with it as well. So
Now, I was just curious. I mean, related to those chalets, and Jeff, you mentioned this in terms of how we got connected in the first place. You said nobody would take those homeowners who were looking to build those chalets and those capes. Is that something that you guys have seen as a change in the industry of modular home building that's turned, or is that something that maybe just through, like you were saying, Jeremy, maybe just not scoping the job out properly, and too many jobs have gone south, and so they don't want to do them anymore, or what do you suppose the issue is for why that's been the case of more and more people saying, never mind, I'd like to stay away from that project, actually.
I don't think it's a matter of them just not wanting to do it. I think it's more the set crews that are licensed and
Gotcha.
skilled to be able to do, complex jobs like that. They're not for everyone. And
Sure.
finding help skilled in that kind of an area is very, very hard to find. And if you do find it, you're probably going to be waiting a long time. But if you have the resources and you have the staff and the connections, you're going to miss it. You won't miss out if you have all those things in place, and you will benefit from it. Because it's like, gosh, I think probably about 30% of my quotes that I've been doing have been in chalets.
Right.
What size? Any
And,
size in particular, or smaller, or larger? Yeah.
the chalet.
I'd tell you,
I'm gonna say I don't want to talk size.
we get a lot of inquiries. I can say, so
About
that's the
13,
typical
1,400
chalet
square
size.
feet.
That's the first floor, and then you'd have about 700 or 800
Yeah.
square feet upstairs, between 600 and 800 square feet upstairs, depending on the design. And then if you finish the basement, you have another 1,400 square feet. So in the end, you could have a house that's around 3,000 square feet if you finish all three levels. But I do say that we often get inquiries about chalets by customers who really like the look of them, but then don't understand that actually the chalet style of home is the highest price per square foot home. And so they might look at I can't remember some of the names, but we have a couple of smaller chalet plans, and so that people might come onto the website and see something, they're looking for a 1,200 square foot house. Ooh, that's a nice 1,200 square foot house. What's the price on that? But they don't realize we try to explain it, and it's no problem. I mean, it's a quick explanation and that kind of thing. But in terms of price per square foot, or the costliness of homes, I don't know if that's the right word. The price point of homes by style, chalet's the highest, then ranch, and then two-story in terms of the price per square foot. And so, just as a point of note there for anyone interested in listening about that little nugget.
Everybody loves that.
And people might say, "Well, give me a price. I want to know a price." It's kind of hard to give a price per square foot just because there's so many variations in styles. But that's not for not wanting to give price. Not we don't say you got to come and see us in order to get a price. We don't want to do that. We don't want to waste anyone's time. We want to give you a price straight away, as quickly as we can.
We make them do a dance
The jig, do
actually
the jig.
before we give them a price.
But we want to understand what you're after. So we're not just sort of just throwing out numbers of various houses.
Yeah.
We want to just have a brief conversation. Hey, what's your goal? And and it might right away within 30 seconds we might understand that chalet is actually not your goal. You just like the look of it. But what's your goal? What's your plan? What's your overall budget? Okay, here's a few options that are going to work within your budget, and that helps everybody sort of get to where they're looking to go as quickly as we can.
Yeah, good. Can we rewind back to the the design and stuff like that? Um, there you go. That'll work.
What happened?
I didn't, I didn't mention this. But
What I miss?
we're
Oh,
talking
did you do a
about different
rewind noise? Is that what
manufacturers
that
and what
was?
makes us different from.
It was really funny, Jeremy. It was really funny. I don't know why I have to remind you
We're
of
all
that so many
digital. There's no
times.
rewinding now. And this is the time of the VHS players. Be kind and rewind.
I wa- I wanted to throw in there about our on-site experience center. Some call it the design center. We have um, um, builders that come here for the first time, and when they go in it, I've heard a couple people say it's like visiting a mini Home Depot. We try to show people as many things as we possibly offer, and
And you guys got a lot of
usually when they come here, they'll have a floor plan in mind, or we've already started with it. They sit with me, and we'll help them finish the design work, the final detail of their plan. Someone's going to make a big investment like that. I think from your area, 5.5 hour trip for several $100,000 investment is well worth it.
Yeah.
And it's usually when they come here and see how we do things and what we do and go through some of the displays, people love the product. They love the versatility. And we let people walk in. We're open to the public from 9 to 4 every day. They come in, they don't need an appointment. They can go through the experience center and the design center, or if you have customers and you want to send to them, I'll take care of them personally. So that's something that makes us a little different. We kind of play into the retail world a little bit, but when they come here and they tell us where they're from, if they've never been to any place, we find a builder in their area based on what they want to build.
Yeah,
And
we did those YouTube videos together where we walked through some of this stuff together in those. So as a point of reference, feel free to go back and check those out. You can see that in preparation for your visit to Pleasant Valley. But Jeff, I don't want to take too much more of your time. I just I want to thank you for joining us here, and I wanted to just ask one last question here related to Pleasant Valley specifically. What's something that you're excited about that's on the horizon, if you can possibly reveal it? I don't want to get you in trouble or anything like that. What's something that you're excited about for the future of Pleasant Valley Homes?
well, we're actually getting into a lot more social media type things. I personally take care of that on my own. I love being able to do that and sharing things with builders, something we weren't really doing before. And, as far as the excitement is, if we collectively as a group see a trend or something that's very popular in the market, we're going to do it without any red tape, without any 5-6 day meetings and stuff like that. It's very exciting to have an ownership that's open-minded to like your mono slope roofs, things like that. We're starting to get more involved in doing that. Just other than your straight up residential ranch 2-story and chalets, we're doing all kinds of different things and looking at new ideas for this coming year. We're in the middle of designing some new models for our display outside.
What homes do you have? Sorry,
Awesome,
what
awesome.
homes do you have
Well,
on
we won't.
display at the lot at your factory?
I have the Dover. I have the Dover, which on our website
Okay.
we have pictures of all of them. Go to Model Homes under Pleasant Valley Homes, and then you'll go to the design Model Homes. It'll take you right to them. We have Dover, the Salisbury,
Okay.
and the Amherst. Currently, those are
And
the three that we have here on
can you
display.
just describe the specs on each of them? Are they ranch or 2-story or chalets, and the approximate square footage, just so we know?
These
Well,
are ones we did a video on, but
the
yeah.
1,600 to 1,800 in that area. That's about all of them. They're all technically ranches, but we took the one house and we made it a cape with an unfinished second floor. It's all prepped for people to finish it, but we did that so people know what a cape or a 912 roof pitch will look
Yeah.
like that they can finish.
That's what
And
actually sold me on modular many years ago at the Hershey show, when my father and I first started getting into modular construction, prior which we had just done stick built. and we went to a builder show in Hershey. This probably would have been in maybe '06 or '07 or somewhere in that range, and the house looked great. You were there,
I was
and
there.
the house looked great. We went in through the first
Yep,
floor,
I was
and
there.
I said, you know, it looks fine, but you know, I mean, I don't know what's behind the wall, and I was skeptical, like everybody is when they first go into a modular home, and then I went up into the attic, and I was just blown away. And some of the most highest hit videos we have are just of unfinished attics, me walking around an unfinished attic, and you can see the construction of the home is as good, but we would say probably better structurally than a site built house in the sheer amount of lumber. And I tell people, you got to remember, it's made more rigid than a site built house because each box has to be structurally intact to drive down the road at 60 miles an hour. That's why on the stats of the factory
Mm-hmm.
websites, you'll see typically there's up to 30% more lumber in a modular home because each box is built so rigid with double rim joists around the top and the bottom. You've got LVLs for all your spans and things of that nature. Stud packs are immense. And you see that when you go into an unfinished attic. If you haven't been in one, let us know. We can set up a
Yep.
tour to take you through. We've got a few that we've finished the attics on. And we've got loads of videos with these types of things. And then, of course, just give us a call. We can set up an appointment with to go down to Pleasant Valley and go through one of the model homes there if you're down in that area.
Yeah, when we have builders or even retail consumers come in to visit us and they go up there, I've heard many people say that's a lot of lumber. Well, we are known to what some people call overbuild our homes. You know, like they see a lot of lumber in our roof area that's exposed because it's an unfinished attic. We actually built a 100-pound roof load standard, so our home can go anywhere. Unless you're going on the top of the Adirondack Mountains, we might have to get a higher roof load than 100. But for 100's overkill. But for Buffalo, New York area, I think that would give a lot of people peace of mind. My wife's from there. She's seen 11 feet of snow already, and a lot of roofs cave in. I'm sure you've heard it. You guys get a little bit of snow up there. But yeah, structurally, we built a very, very good product, highest insulation, highest roof loads. Jonathan, you've been here at the factory. You've gone through with Lee Finelli, and it shows you a whole bunch of little things that we do that a lot probably don't do. But these are homes for life. These are not temporary homes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate your time. This has been great, and I'm sure we'll connect again soon.
Thanks for your time,
All
Jeff.
right, thanks,
It was a real
guys.
pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks.
All right, take care.
No problem. You're welcome. Have a good